everybody, it's Sharon here. Welcome back to my channel for those who are returning, and welcome to any new subscribers that may be visiting for the first time. So I have lots to show you. I've been doing a little bit of crafting without you guys, and I really just wanted to pop on here to bring you up to speed, tell you what I've been doing. As you know, I worked on some dangles for my design team project at JunkWithSteph, or for some reason I always say at JunkWithSteph. I don't know why. I think it's because when I'm posting on social media, that's what I have to put. So yes, I'm using a couple of kits from JunkWithSteph for my design team project, and I wanted to make some dangles. So I just wanted to show you where they were up to, and I have the ones that we made on camera here. So they are all dry. Just got something shiny on there. I don't know what that was. They're all dry now, and I really love the way they've turned out. I actually love both the paper and the tissue paper version. I wasn't expecting, or I wasn't sure how I would feel about the paper versions, but I actually really love them. So that was actually the first part of my design team project. That was what I was inspired to do with those papers. And I mentioned to you that I decided to create a journal as well. So my dangles I haven't really done too much more with, because the journal kind of took over. For the journal that I'm working on, I've decided I actually really love the paper versions of the dangles. I don't know why. I think because they're a little bit sharper, the images are a little bit sharper. They were just what was speaking to me. So I did have a little play with this one as far as the dangle was concerned, and I will tell you that I don't have any jump rings that are big enough to fit into the space between the hole and the edge, which I didn't think about when I was making them. So I would perhaps consider making the hole a little bit higher. But having said that, I like the stability that size space gives. So I'm thinking maybe in the future I'll have to see if I can source some larger jump rings. I did make this little one just out of a piece of beading wire myself. It's not the best job, but it was to give me an indication of how it would look. So I've popped that on there, and I could dangle it using one of these pins, which I really love. But I do have some other things in mind as well, and I think that's another reason why I like the idea of the holes a little bit lower. So what I have in mind to dangle them with is something that I want to play with in this journal. So what I have done, I will bring them closer actually to camera so that you can see the difference. So I will let you know these two, sorry, I was looking at my sticky labels. These two are the ones that we did with the Tim Holtz Distress Collage Medium. Remembering I tried three different options to finish them off. And we have the tissue paper on the left and the normal paper or printer paper on the right. So I really love how they turned out. And then, I'm sorry about the focus. It's not an autofocus, so I apologise for that. And then these are the two that we did with the Mod Podge. And remembering we inked around the outside of these with the archival ink. And I really love the finish that that's given on them. All the way around. The ones that we did with the Distress Collage Medium, I will show you the back. The ones we did with the Distress Collage Medium, I didn't do anything to the edges. I left them plain and just a little bit sanded. So just distressed them a little bit with the sandpaper. So that's the Mod Podge. And then these are the dangles that we made using the hardware lacquer that I had left over from painting my set of shelving. And I really love the way they've come out. And we did the wax paste around the edge. And I think they're really pretty as well. And I will show you the backs. I did get a little bit of the wax paste on the back, but that's okay. So that's those. What I have done, because of the way I want to use them, is I've made one more off camera, and it's been sitting here drying. So I've made one exactly the same as the last lot that I showed you with the hardware lacquer. I've used the same wax paste on the edges all the way around, and I want to use the two of those in this particular journal that I'm making. And I'm not saying I won't use the others, I don't know at this stage. I mentioned to you before that part of me creating these was because I was inspired to do so, and also because I wanted to try different mediums to see how they worked and to share with you as I was going. So okay, so that's my first show and tell. I'm excited to be able to show you the results finally. And I'm just going to pop those back up where I had them. I still have my extras that I've painted ready to go. Some have been lacquered. And I will create more out of those at a later date. So the other thing I wanted to share with you was that at this stage, I think the paper ones were all done on the chalk paint as opposed to the gesso pieces. So I'm kind of steering more towards the chalk paint for this journal, and that was because of the cover that we did. So sharing that now. So this is my cover, and it's all finished. I really, really love it. I wasn't sure what I would think about the chalk paint and the lacquer over the top of it. As you know, I don't very often do hardcover journal covers, and I love it. I really, really love it. I've painted around the edges slightly and left the inside. What I did do was gesso one coat over the whole inside. And I was going to gesso again, and I decided to leave it because I'm putting a spine in here. I'm thinking about doing a hidden spine. So there will be other layers going in, cardboard and fabric and possibly something to make it more stable. So I decided to leave it at the one coat of gesso over the whole thing, and I just painted the edges. So there is a little bit of cracking in the paint and the lacquer in the creases, but the inside will be covered over. And I mentioned I did have a little bit on the outside as well, and I've just, before I finished lacquering it, before I started lacquering it, I went over it with the wax paste, and it's kind of highlighted those cracks, and I really like that. So that's my cover. Now, I talked to you about my papers before I put them all together, and I've been working really hard behind the scenes, and I'm just going to pop them in here to show you roughly how it's looking. Okay, so this is my journal so far, and I mentioned to you the laces. I have actually changed some of the laces that I had chosen, partly because a couple of the laces weren't peeping outside the cover very well, and I wanted to have them showing once the journal was put together. So I've gone with slightly wider, soft, delicate whites and creams, and I love it. I'm so excited. And I'll give you a quick flip through what I've done. I've sewn my papers. I've inked all around them. I did have a little bit of, I wasn't sure if I wanted to ink. Let's just say that. I know I've done that with one other journal before, and I toyed with the idea. I tried all sorts of different colours, and I can show you. Whoops. So I've been fussy cutting, and what I did was I used the piece that I've been fussy cutting, and I had gone around the edges with all different colours of distress inks, trying to decide what I wanted to do. Initially I thought black, but then I second guessed it. I didn't know if it was too dark. I I really wasn't sure, guys. And so what I actually did, I had a scrap, and I'll show you. I had this little scrap here, and so I inked around that and I sat it on this page and I left it for the day or overnight, and I came back and I had another look and I went, oh, I think I really like that. So I decided black was the way to go, and then I sort of wasn't sure whether to just do black around my pattern paper and leave my other papers plain. So essentially I would distress my cover page of each signature and any ephemera that I made, but to leave these papers blank. And I went, I just need to ink some and see. So I inked a full signature and decided I loved it. And I will show you a photo now, because I actually did 2 of the signatures and I had one left when I looked at the journal from the top, so from this view here, and seeing the 2 signatures done and the one that wasn't done, I was like, it's amazing how distress ink just, sorry, you're probably not focused, it's amazing how distress ink just brings it all together and makes it look like it belongs together. Okay, so I did have a little spot on the cover that it was raised, and I brushed my fingernail across it and lifted it. I've just touched that up slightly with the tiniest dot of chalk paint and then a tiny bit of lacquer over the top. I do want to do something on the front, so I'm not overly concerned, but I didn't want to leave it exposed. So I wanted to point that out to you, and I'm just going to quickly flip you through and show you what I've done. So I've got top loading pockets in my first signature, and hindsight says perhaps I should have had a little thumb hole or something in those, and I haven't done that, partly because I didn't want to take away from the papers. I'm still toying with the idea as to whether I should or I shouldn't. I'm kind of steering towards maybe I should, so until I sew that in, that could be a possibility. I may be able to get my hole punch in there and punch a hole. It would be in this side and then this side. Even if I do a tiny, tiny little hole, I'm thinking. Again, the colours that I'm using throughout are inspired by the colours of the flowers on the papers that I'm using. And they are the British Wildflower Kits Volumes 1 and 2 from JunkWithSteph. And so I've used those papers on the outsides of my signatures, and that's where my laces are. And I've just got a little tea-stained tag in here that I'm planning on making up, and I've got a crocheted flower that I've made, and I'm considering using that as my topper. So I've just set those in there to get a feel for them and see if I like them. I've got this little fold out paper embellishment that I'd like to decorate a little bit, and I'm thinking that will go in there. I've popped a couple of things in here, not a lot. I've got some graph paper that flips out. I've got some book paper that flips out, some tea stain paper, some line paper. I have made some fabric flips. I've kept them very plain. I've kept them with the whites and creamy tones, the more neutrals. I think one of them has a little bit of yellow in it, but very, very simple. It's not an overly big cover, so I didn't want too much bulk either. The fabric I've used at the back is actually a bed sheet, and I have gone around the outside with some fray stock. So I've got some encyclopedia paper that I've tea stained, more papers, and then that is the center of my signature, and it's the same on the other side. I haven't added anything, I don't think, to the back of that. And then my other top loading pocket with my tag in the top and my beautiful lace. I just love the way it complements those papers. My second signature, I'm thinking about leaving the second signature fairly plain without very much embellishment, partly because of the size of the journal and the fact that there's not a whole lot of room once I start adding bulk to it. So I decided I might focus my embellishments on the first and the last signature and leave the middle one plain. It may change, we'll wait and see. So I have my pockets on the inside of my page here. So again, I've used 2 different papers and I've cut this one down and used that to create pockets sort of in line with an altered book. And I have some more of my tea stained manila folders, and I'm thinking about embellishing that and using that as a journaling card in there. You'll see my little holes marked for that because of an idea I have. Not sure if it will work, but that may be or may not be done on camera. More of these beautiful papers. The signatures are pretty much the same papers throughout. I do have a fabric flip in the middle signature with that really pretty lemon. It's quite a neutral tone. And I did notice once I sewed it together, I've actually put the brighter side of that underneath. It's a reversible fabric. So I kind of like that's a little bit of a surprise when you flip it up. But it looks quite plain to look at now, or more neutral, sorry. The only difference in the middle signature is I do have an envelope in here that I'm considering including in the signature. And again, that's the middle. So the backs of the pages, or the second side of the pages, are unembellished. And then I have another one of the tea stained manila folder cards to go in the back pocket, and again with the beautiful lace. And then my last signature, I have the double-sided paper, or 2 sheets put together. Now I've sewn these together and I did get a little bit of buckling. I ummed and ahed as to whether I should sew or glue or do a bit of both. To sew it, I had to open it out flat, so obviously when it was folded again, it wasn't going to fold exactly the way it would if it wasn't sewn. I probably should have, in hindsight, have glued first, but I didn't. So I have got a tiny bit of buckling, but overall I'm pretty happy with the way that's come out. And it's lined with my papers. I do have an tea stain index card I'm going to use as my journaling cards for those pockets. Another little embellishment here. It's a fold out piece of paper, so it folds right out. I'm going to decorate that up to put there. And then I think I may have, I've got a fabric flip in this one already. I don't have too much in this one either. I think I do have one other. Oh yes, my other little band. They were leftover scraps from when I did, may have been from when I did these pages here. So that's where that is up to, my index card for my back pocket there. And that's it. So what did I want to do now? I've got lots of ideas running around in my head. I really don't know how much room I'm going to have to keep filling this. I did think about taking the middle signature out altogether and just having 2 signatures. Still undecided about that. I don't know how I feel about having an even number of signatures because I like to work in odd numbers. So I'm just going to see how it pans out. What I do have here is a piece of lace, and I'm thinking about popping my lace on my cover like this, and I'd really like to use this piece here on my front cover. Now I haven't really decided how I want to do that. I'm thinking about backing it and painting the backing, so perhaps a piece of cardboard or something like that. So I haven't decided whether I want to use this side or whether I need to print the next size down, which would be 2 to a page. So I would have 8 of these on a page. Does that make sense? So basically this would be an 1/8 of a page. What I wanted to do was cut this out and just check it on top of my cover. I'm a little bit nervous about doing this on camera, and I don't know why. So I've considered talking you through what I'm planning on doing and then doing it without you. And I think partly because I want to paint it, and I'm thinking about using the chalk paint, which, as you are probably aware if you've watched my earlier videos where I did the other pieces, my chalk paint is in my other craft room, so it kind of gets hard to video because you're doing one coat and walking away, letting it dry, and then coming back to do another coat. So these are the floral study cards from JunkWithSteph, and I've decided to use the Forget Me Not partly because I wanted something that was delicate looking. I love the delicateness of that because my cover is white or vintage white. It's kind of an off-white. And it doesn't have too much else going on. I didn't want anything that was too loud and busy. Oops, that hasn't cut all the way through. I wanted something soft and delicate to go with the look of the cover already. So, well, I didn't do that very well, did I? So I really love the delicateness of the Forget Me Not. The other reason I've chosen it is because my other papers are wildflowers, and I did a little Google research and Forget Me Not is actually listed as a wildflower. So I was like, well, I feel like they're meant to be together. Okay. Part of me is feeling like the image is a little bit bigger than I would like. Oh, actually, that may be okay, that size. Kind of like it at the angle. Do I like it this way? If I leave it that size, then I don't have room to play as far as doing a backing or anything on it, and I feel like perhaps I'd like to. So I am thinking I might print it in the 2 to a page format, which means I will have other images to play with for other things as well, not always a bad thing. And I might go ahead and create that book plate off camera, and I will show you the result when it's done, because I need to go and find a piece of card and that sort of thing. So that's what I will do. I will print that smaller and take it from there. Thank you for helping me talk that out. I really wasn't sure what to do. Okay, so how long do I have? Okay, I'm just trying to decide what I want to play with first. Okay, I do have this pad of tracing paper, and I think I purchased it from Riot Art Stores here in Australia, and I've decided I wanted to have a play with that with some of the papers. Oh, you can see I've got distress ink around these as well, where I was playing with colours as well. Actually, I might use different papers. Okay, I'm going to use this sheet, and it's also on the matte photo paper. And I'm just going to take off, actually I might just tear it. I was going to cut it, but I'm going to tear it and see how that goes. Yes. Okay, so now that I'm into the crafting, I hope you're all fabulous. I'm sorry, I had so much in my head that I wanted to share with you, and I haven't even said hello properly. Been crazy here. It's really, really wet here today as well. So I'm hoping there's not too much background noise for you, but it's kind of blowing and raining and quite miserable outside today. The rain's always welcome though. Kind of like the way that's tearing. If I can keep the ruler straight. Okay, now I wanted to look at size. I have no idea where in the journal these will go, but just picking a page. I really like these images down here actually. Okay, so actually I want to tear it this way. Sorry guys. I want to tear in the opposite direction to what I was going to effectively tear a moment ago, so that's why I've turned it around. So just tearing this bottom section out. And I think I want to take a little bit more off this side. And I want to roughly tear this in half. And then I'm going to tear in half again. I'm probably thinking more about how I'm tearing the second one than I did about the first. It really doesn't matter. And then taking my distress ink, and of course I'm using the black soot, which is what I use to distress around all of my pages. And a little of this goes a long way, so just a really delicate. I am going to see if, no. I've just got a little bit of white showing there that I was hoping I could tear it away, but I don't think it will. So just using my distress ink just to blend it a little bit. What I did notice using the black soot on the edges of my papers was that I ended up wearing almost as much as the paper did. I had black marks all over my hands from doing the distressing. But it was so fun watching it come together the way it did. Every time I pick it up, I get more and more excited about how it's turning out. It's funny how, you know, I've said to you before, I wasn't necessarily considering making a journal out of this paper when I first saw it, and now that I've started, I'm really loving it. I'm loving the way it's turning out. Okay, so taking my tracing paper, I'm just going to tear a piece out. And I think I have two, I do. I'm not even sure how much I paid for this tracing paper. I think it was on sale when I purchased it, so oops, I just want one of these because I want to tear I do need to make sure it's fairly straight. Okay. So just tearing a piece the same height. And I do need to make sure I don't make it too wide. Oops. So I'm going to say about there, and I could use a ruler, but I'm not. And I'm going to tear a second one about the same size. Okay, and so I need to glue these on. I'm just wondering which glue to use. I might use the art glitter glue. I haven't filled my art glitter glue up yet, and I feel like I'm kind of walking on the edge right now because I don't think there's a whole lot in here. Kind of pushing the limits to see how far I can take it. Or maybe I've pushed it as far as I should. Whoops. Come on, you. Oh, there we go. Oh, there's a little bit of a goober in there, that's why. Like you were working yesterday. Just remove that little goober out of the mix. I've got no paper towel. Okay, and what I'm going to do is I am going to run this on the other edge just to stop any catching or lifting. And I need some paper towel. And I did consider using vellum for this, but I really wanted to try the tracing paper just to see how it goes. I've got ink on my tracing paper, never mind. Yep, about there. And I'm turning it over before I start pressing down because it didn't make any difference at all. I still managed to get... It's like if I turn it over, I won't seep onto my paper. Think again. Okay. And then again, I'm going to lift this edge. Okay, so that's one little pocket done, and I am wondering whether I want to perhaps add a little topper. I'm kind of feeling like it might reinforce it a little bit too, because I am considering sewing around it. I just don't know how the tracing paper will take the sewing. but I do like that across the top. I think I will glue that on. I need to move it off my page. Okay. Trying to decide whether I'm brave enough to sew around it. I guess if I sew around it and I don't like it or I'm not happy with it, I can always make another one. Ah, that's better. Just like it doesn't look finished. Okay, so same process with this one. Okay, that got fairly close to the edge there. Yep. I know I want to come in a fair way with this one, so I'm okay with putting the glue a little bit further in. Hasn't quite gone on straight, that's better. So I have a lot more room on this side. I think when I turn the camera off, I really need to fill my, oops. I really need to fill my glue bottle. And I think I want the same lace. It is big enough. Look at that. So I'm going to ink at the bottom. scrap basket. Okay, so they are our 2 pockets. I think they're really pretty, lots of fun. I love the fact that whatever we pop in behind them will be seen through the tracing paper. I will sew them off camera, and I will probably use a single stitch just because I don't want to perforate the tracing paper too much, because I feel like it will weaken it a little bit, but I do think I want the sewn edge look, so I will do those off camera. I'm hoping to do some more ephemera on camera, but I do plan on working on this a little bit behind the scenes, so I'll try and keep you up to speed with catch-up videos where I can. So thank you so much for joining me while I've done these. I hope you've enjoyed where the journal is going so far, and I look forward to seeing you all soon, everybody. Stay inspired, stay safe, and look after each other. Happy crafting, and bye for now.